Hello to all. Welcome to the channel Cloud Knowledge. Today in this video, we'll study a scenario where from the REST API, we will take the PDF file and we'll try to load it into the Azure Blob container. At the REST API or the REST endpoint, we have the PDF file. That PDF file we need to get into the ADF using the web activity and then copy that output or the PDF file which is fetched through the web activity to the blob container folder. Let us study the requirement through whiteboard. Okay, so here we have some REST endpoint, and in this REST API we have a PDF, a dummy PDF. Then in ADF we have to connect to this REST API or the REST endpoint using web activity. This will fetch us the response, okay, from this REST endpoint with the method get, and then we'll use another web activity to save it to blob container folder. Okay, so two web activities will be used, and in this video we'll be demonstrating how the configuration will be done in these web activities. So let's go to the dummy PDF first. As we know, we are going to use web activity. So here's the web activity standard documentation by Microsoft, which states that it is used to call a REST custom REST endpoint, and it is supported for invoking URLs. Then the configuration of the different properties are given. Here in Google, when we search for dummy PDF, there will be many dummy PDF links which will pop up. So we'll take, let's say, this one. So when we open this link, it will show up a sample PDF file which we are going to fetch in ADF and save it into the Azure Blob container. Let's go to the portal, and here in the portal we'll start creating the pipeline. So create a new pipeline. We'll name it as save PDF to blob, and this PDF is coming from the REST endpoint, and this PDF is coming from the REST API. Hence we are going to use web activity. So we'll go to the general tab, we'll take the web activity into the canvas, and in the web activity we have to go to the settings tab. So we'll go to the settings tab here. We'll give the URL, that is the target endpoint and path. The URL will be, as we have seen here, the URL we will copy of this PDF and paste here. Okay, the method will be to get the data. Okay, the method is, if you hover over it, it is the REST API method for the target endpoint. So we are getting the data from this target endpoint. The rest of the settings as is, we'll debug up to this level whether the data is coming or not. So we are debugging it. It succeeded. So if we go and see the input and the output of the web activity, the URL we have given, method and headers were none, and in the output, if you open, it will show us the response. The response is given and it's written as person then PDF 1.3. Then it has the response headers and other integration runtime related details. We'll close this. So we have got the data, or we have fetched the data using the get method of the REST endpoint. Now we will use another web activity to save this output to the blob container. We will join the output of the first web activity to the second web activity. We will click on the second web activity. Again, we'll go to the settings. Now we have to load this to the blob container, and in the blob container, where do we want to load? We have to check that. So let's go quickly to the blob container. Here we are in the storage account, cloud knowledge. Okay. And in the cloud knowledge, we are inside containers. We'll create a new container, let's say, and the container name we will give here. Let's give the container name as PDF input and create. So here we can see a new container is created. We'll click over this container. So we are now inside this PDF input container. Okay. Now in this container, we have to give access to the data factory so that it could put the data here. For that purpose, we have to go to the shared access tokens. We'll go here in the settings for this particular container. And here in the setting of the shared access tokens, we have to select the permissions. So let's select all. And then start and end date. Start date will be today's date, and let's say the end date we are giving to tomorrow. And allowed protocols will be HTTPS, HTTP, and then click on generate SAS token and URL. It has generated us the token and the URL. We'll copy the blob SAS URL. So just click on this button. So the URL will be copied, and we'll take this URL, paste it into a notepad. And here in the URL, you can see that it has given us the path of the container and then the container name, that is PDF input. And the path is only up to the container level. But we want the data from the REST endpoint to be landed as a PDF file. Okay. So here, right after the container name, we have to give the file name also. So let's name this as REST PDF.pdf. Okay. With the extension, we have given the name. So now at this location inside the container, this file will be generated. Looks good. We'll take this SAS URL, copy it, go back, and we'll go here to the web activity URL and we'll paste the URL here. Okay. This is done. For this web activity, the method for the REST API endpoint would be put, because we are going to put the data or put the file, PDF file there at the blob container. Then comes the body. What will be the input for this web activity? It represents the payload that is sent to the endpoint. The input which we are going to send will be here the dynamic content. That is the output which is coming from the web activity 1. So we'll select the dynamic content, and from the activity outputs, we'll select web activity output. It will give us the output. Okay. I will not make the change here. If we leave it up to this output level, it will give us error. Let me first show you the error and then we'll make the change here. Okay. So click OK. Then authentication is done. Headers we have to add. So we'll add the header because we are going to load it into the blob container. So it will be XMS blob type and the value will be blob. Okay. This is required when we are putting the data into the blob container. You can read in detail about the different types of header which are required when we are putting the data or using the REST endpoints. Okay, this is done. Now let me try to execute this complete pipeline and we'll see, since we have configured the body up to output, will it run or not. So let's debug. So here we can see that the web activity 2 is failed, and if we hover over the error, it says invalid header value. Header is not in the correct format. Okay. Okay, the error states that the header is not in the correct format. So let me first go and correct the header. It should be blob without any space. Now this looks okay. We'll try to perform debug run again, and we'll see if it runs successfully. So both web activities succeeded, status is succeeded. And if we go to the web activity 2 input, here we can see that the URL, method, header and body is given, and in the output also we could see that the response is sent. Let's go to the blob container here in the container inside the PDF input and wait for the file. So the file with the name respdf.pdf which we have given is generated. Let's try to open it. Click on edit. Here we cannot preview the PDF file as of today. Maybe there could be some settings in the overview which we would have to modify and then preview it. So let me try to modify it from JSON to PDF and save in the content type and try to edit. It's still not visible. Let's try to download it. It's downloaded. Let's click over it. It says error, failed to load PDF document. Okay, though the pipeline has succeeded, but it is failed to load. So why the PDF respdf.pdf is not visible to us or it is not loading? Because in the web activity, if we go here to the web activity 1 output, if we try to preview it, the response is coming off here. The response is coming as PDF up to this level. The rest of the elements we need not take. Hence, from the output, we will only take the response. Okay. So we'll close here and we'll go to the web activity 2, and in the body of this web activity 1 output, we will take output from the output only response. Just add this dot response here. Click OK. Again, perform a debug run. Let's click on refresh. Now the web activity 2 also succeeded. Let's go back here and we will get another REST PDF loaded here. Let's open this time the new PDF. Go to edit and we'll download it. We'll try to preview it, and this time the data which is fetched from the REST endpoint will be visible to us. Okay, so this minor change in the body has to be done because the data is coming inside the response for the PDF. Okay, and then in the URL we have to be cautious in adding the container SAS URL along with the name of the file which has to be generated. So these two things has to be kept in mind while reading the data from the REST API and loading it into the EDF containers. Hope you have understood this video. Thank you for watching. Let me know in comments if you have any queries. Happy learning. Bye.